Hello and welcome to Everyday Journal number 152, your favorite, most deceptively named bi-weekly Legacy podcast. Today's show is brought to you by our brand new Patreon, Evan Lazar. If you want to support the running of the show directly, you can support us on patreon.com/everydayjournal. And everybody, quick, get in the car. This is a very impromptu episode. We recorded right as we got home from work, and the news dropped that Mind's Desire has been unbanned in Legacy. So for the first hour or so on this podcast, we're going to share our thoughts on this. We're going to share what we think this deck will look like in the future going forward. And this hit right as we close the cast. In the show notes, you will also find a deck list by Martin Nielsen, also known as Nevershoot, which he used to go 4-1 with. So definitely check the show notes. They should be on your podcasting app, but if they are not, check it out on itsjulian.com. And I'm also going to hijack this, what is probably going to be a very exciting episode, to quickly announce that in the next month, we are going to move to a different RSS feed. You don't need to understand what that means. Basically, all the big podcasting platforms and apps that you use, they will auto-update the feed. But in about 5% of cases, this goes wrong for some people. So if you notice that we are not putting out episodes anymore on your feed, just go back to the website. There will actually be an announcement on Twitter, and I guess we also need to share it somewhere. So I'm also going to share it on itsjulian.com, because after 3 years in the making of me just being a complete amateur about web design, our new website is actually going to come out. And that's why we are moving the RSS feed. I'm not going to bore you with the details. Nobody cares about that. It's going to work. But if it doesn't, hit me up on Twitter at itsjulian23 or send an email to julian@itsjulian.com and we'll work it out. Super excited for this. Incredibly excited. Almost as excited, actually more excited even than I am for the unban of Mind's Desire. And I just wanted to put this out there. I'm going to put reminders on the next 2 or 3 episodes, because the actual change is only going to happen in something like a month. But I know some of you, you're sometimes unfaithful. Sometimes some of you skip an episode and they might not get the news. So this is it. And there will be more news in the future. And now let's dive into what's one of the most exciting episodes in recent memory. Did you wreck that guy who brought in Graphica's Cage?
Yeah, dude, that was a mind-blowing moment. Like, I didn't know that you don't care about Graphica's Cage.
You did not know that?
I didn't know that. Like, why should I know that? Because like it looks so obvious, right? Like, if you play Living End, the opponent plays Graphica's Cage, it's probably lights out. That's what.
I love how in paper, if you were like all on your own, you would have been like, oh damn, I'm never gonna cast a spell.
This is the same as Pithing Needle and Lion's Eye Diamond, right?
Yeah, I was well. I'm smart enough to get that, but the Graphica's Cage is seriously, that was like next level to me. Like, I feel, dude, that was
It's weird.
I had that happen to me at GP Prague 2014, and somebody played Graphica's Cage, and I did the whole Hollywooding. Like, I'm like, oh my god, no, oh shit, oh damn. And then, like, as I was almost dead, I'm like, okay, here goes nothing. And then I literally told him, okay, and now all my stuff comes to play. No, yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's also like the templating is so weird. Right?
No, but it's literally says it on the card. Like, if you read,
thank you.
The card. This is not a case of like.
This is not like a hidden rule.
So Graphica's Cage stops creatures entering from the graveyard. Living End says each player exiles all creature cards from the graveyard, then sacrifices, then puts all cards exiled this way onto the battlefield. So they come in from exile. Like, it literally says it on the card. Just read the card, guys. It's easy.
Yeah, well, thank you, Sensei. But the thing is, like, if you play so much Magic, is like at some point you stop reading those cards, right? You just look at the artwork. I mean, there's just like a bunch of like dead people coming back to the battlefield. Of course, they're gonna get stopped by Graphica's Cage, but like, no.
Yeah, once you get to a certain level, you just play the vibes. You know how I told you how I missed like top 8 at MKM because I thought Thing in the Eyes had flying, because it just like it looked like it had flying.
It's in the sea, dude.
Yeah, but
dude, it's a sea monster.
I mean, the sea is like not a non-flying zone or something. Like, come on.
This is worse than Kai's.
Well, there are, to be fair, there are flying fish out there, so
there's also like birds and shit, and like flying sea monsters. I don't know. It made sense to me.
You deserve that one. I'm sorry.
Anyway, guys, this is like the universe giving us like completely throwing everything apart and giving us an actual topic to talk about, right? Because we were going to look back at a couple of things that happened over the last weeks, and I think we are still going to touch on at least one of those decks. But holy shit, like
Wait, did something happen?
Did something happen?
Preordain got unbanned modern.
Yo, let's go.
Let's go. Preordain, team Preordain. Kai, I told you about the Preordain cast, right?
Dude, yeah. Finally, we can start an actual podcast right now.
Serum Vision's cast is dead.
Holy Serum. Yeah, Serum Vision is like really yesterday. Oh my goodness. But I just to quickly touch on the preordain thing, like I like the argument behind unbanning preordain. It's like, you know, you got Okish Bowbuster, like they gotta take care of it anyway, so you can have that shitty cantrip or whatever they thought. To be fair though, like if this was Ponder, I think a lot of people might have had like a way different reaction, because Ponder is just really overpowered, and preordain is like, dude, like people in Pauper play preordain, right?
Actually, they do.
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
it's Preordain's better than Brainstorm and Pauper. Until they got all the land cyclers recently, probably, but it was better because there's less shuffle effects, or like the fetches are worse and stuff.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
But I don't know. I mean, this is a joke now, but Preordain is probably.
We're just going to like Preordain for like half an hour or something.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
So here's my analysis. I think it's good in blue decks and not very good in not blue decks.
Oh man, like I would question that.
Please sub to our Patreon. Or actually, please sub to Callum's Patreon. It's so secret we don't even know about it.
No.
Kai, you were gonna make one, right, or something?
Yeah, I was going to.
Is there gonna be like a secret tier where like you paint somebody, like you paint Pokemon as like French girls, like in Titanic and stuff?
Like, I don't know about that, but I had a coaching session like the other day where where the student
Can you speak
basically
to me in the voice of Misty from Pokemon during the entire coaching session? I will pay extra.
God, dude, that's like so annoying. Like her voice is like so obnoxious. Holy smokes!
I don't know. I thought I should. Anyway, you know.
But like, yeah, like the guy, he just wanted to do cantrips for 2 hours. I was like, okay, well, I'm not AJ Sahar, but we can still go through a couple of like, you know, like Ponder, Brainstorm, do's and don'ts and things like that.
No, I get off on
like,
cantrips. No.
Yeah, like Preordain. I think like there's been like a lot of also like articles like written, I think in the past, about like when to cast Preordain over Ponder and blah blah blah. And
you know, I've told this before, but somebody once blew my mind. Like when I learned Magic, and then at some point I learned Vintage, which felt like a completely different skill. And like you have to practice it every once in a while, because every time I go back into Vintage, I'm like, okay, well, how does it actually work? Anyway, one of those like Vintage gurus in Germany here, Florian. No, actually, I don't remember the name.
That's his name.
Well, we called him Bisamratte, Florian.
I don't just call him that.
Yeah. He like won so much, and he at some point he told me, you know, Julian, sometimes Ponder is better than Ancestral Recall. I'm like, whoa, this guy is full of shit. And then like when you think about it, like you guys can figure it out, right?
What?
Okay,
I mean they're both restricted.
No. So here's the thing. Let's say you're looking for a very specific card.
It's these 4 rather than 3.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay.
And you don't have extra mana to spend on like technically you could factor in that you draw extra mana, but on certain situations it's technically better.
It's like saying Brainstorm is better than Ancestral because you can hide a thing or put something back. Like it is better than the time, and it's more better than Ponder, but like it's still not as good.
It's more better than Ponder. I like it.
Right. Like, you know, if you keep talking about this, like in 10 minutes, we might end up at like Serum Vision's probably like better than all of them combined. So
yeah.
Serum Vision's better than Recall when you don't know what to do. Just draw a random card and then scribe it. I don't know.
Okay, no, but here's the big thing. By the way, guys, I just shared show notes in case you haven't had them yet. So yeah, here's the big thing. Mine's Desire got unbanned, and I think there has been a point in Legacy's past where this would have completely blown everybody's mind.
Pew 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 pew.
Also, the artwork is insane, right?
I just like goodness.
It's like top 5 artworks ever for me in Magic.
Who actually made that? Ron Spencer. Is that crazy? These days, like when you have Magic artists, you have to be like, oh, is this a crazy person? No.
Oh,
anyway.
Ron Spencer did a lot of crazy art back then. Like all the ones that are a little bizarre and have like a lot of stuff going on. Like Mind's Desire is like pretty like, I don't want to say like stock image of Ron Spencer, but he's been doing a lot of weird stuff, especially during those old sets. But like this is kind of unreal to me. Because like when I like it's Mind Desire was the reason for me to start Vintage in 2015.
Nice. Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, just very quickly, Ron Spencer did Cabal Therapy, so he's the best artist ever.
Oh heck yeah.
Oh, that's another great one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So you started this with Vintage.
Oh, like yeah, because so I like back then, like 2015 was like I want to say the golden age probably for me as a Storm player at least, and I was playing all the Storm decks in all formats, like played a little bit of like the Gifts Ungiven Storm in Modern, played Ad Nauseam Tendrils in Legacy, and then I also wanted to like tip my toes a little bit into Vintage, and I thought, okay, well, like, what's the coolest thing you can do in Vintage as a Storm deck, right? And obviously there's like Wheel of Fortune and all these like Broken Tutors, but Mind's Desire as an engine was really appealing to me back then, because you can cast a bunch of boxing, and then your reveals are also gonna be busted because you reveal things like, I don't know, Dark Petition, for example. Okay, I guess you can also play that in Legacy, but you can also like reveal anything like Wheel of Fortune, for example, and like more Lotus and LEDs and Yawgmoth's Worlds and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And you just got high on the card, pretty much.
I got really high on the card, yeah, because it was so much fun, right? Like casting that card, it is never not fun to cast Mind's Desire.
That's true.
I
guess if you do it for one,
so fun as well.
If you do it for one,
imagine if you do it for one, then you hit the second, the third, and the fourth. It's just like, oh yes.
So you've just answered your own question. Imagine how lame it would be to do one. And you're like, oh wait, actually, that's quite exciting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Dude,
yeah.
like what if the one? Well, yeah, but what if the one is another Mind's Desire? Then it just keeps rolling.
Yeah, you got your 3 and 40 something chance. Like, yeah, I guess I could see it.
Yeah.
Oh, guys, this is exciting. Yeah, I guess everybody knows what Mind's Desire does, but to quickly remind you, it's a sorcery from Scourge. It's 4 colorless and 2 blue. Shuffle your library, then remove the top card from your library from the game. Until end of turn, you may play it as though it were in your hand without paying its mana cost, and of course it has Storm. So I guess the obvious thing first is you don't have to cast the card right away. You can resolve the other copies. But if you want to, you can actually, I'm pretty sure you can even play sorceries during the and creatures during the resolution of Mind's Desire copies. Am I correct on this?
I believe so, no.
No, you got
No.
you have the Storm trigger, right?
Yeah. So it like each one is a separate instance of like Mind's Desire on the stack, and then instance obviously. So if you have 10 Mind's Desires on the stack, and then the first one hits an instant, then you have priority again. You can cast it, but the Mind's Desire itself doesn't get over the time restrictions, so you can't.
Okay,
cast a creature.
so I'm just trying to remember this because I, as some of you probably also do remember, Heartbeat Desire or Heartbeat combo in 2005 and extended in the hands of Chris McDaniel, aka Star Wars Kid, at Pro Tour Los Angeles 2005, one of the greatest Pro Tours ever. And I remember like one of the tricks was casting your spells to during the resolution of Mind's Desire copies, but I think that one then only impacted like, I guess, instants. There weren't really any, like, I guess fact or fiction sometimes. Yeah, anyway. So yeah.
It's a very good instant, yeah.
We talk about the listener moment for a short moment, but yeah. Overall, this card, it has been banned since the inception of Legacy, right? This card has never been legal in Legacy, and now we're getting to play with it.
Is that like 20 years-ish?
Well, Legacy was like made a format in 2000 before it like existed.
Yeah,
You're close.
19 years.
Actually,
Okay.
19 years, yeah.
That's getting old. Yeah.
Yeah, it's even allowed to drink beer like in most places of the world. I mean, if you count from Scorch, it actually is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I'm excited to like see what the card does. We'll get into if we think it'll make an impact and everything. But first of all, I am most excited for the precedent it sets. Like, everyone says when a card is like banned or not legal in Legacy, it's just in that hole forever, and you just don't touch that hole. It's scary down there, and you don't touch it. Some things can stay down there, like Oko, that can just stay in the very bottom and never ever get touched again. But there's a lot of things. I mean, everyone knows, and I think everyone agrees that there is a bunch of cards on the Legacy ban list that really could be unbanned. And Mind's Desire has always been one that's kind of like people are unsure, so it's probably one of the most exciting ones they could have done. I think everyone agrees something like Earthcraft is just really bad and could it be unbanned. But that would just be like really boring, right? Everyone would be like, okay, finally you did it, hooray, well done. But this is interesting. This is cool. It's exciting.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I'm betting Earthcraft is like the payoff to the Earthcraft herders, but
yeah,
like,
Imagine if Wizards of the Coast just unbanned like a cantrip for each format. They go like Preordain for Modern, and for Legacy we got Frantic Search. There you go.
I mean, that's another one that would go so well with Mind's Desire, actually. But just to finish what I was meaning quickly, like the precedent this sets is like they've looked at Legacy and thought, you know what, we can actually look at this unban list, and that is opening a huge, exciting pot of gold of like unbanning other things. Now it remains to be seen if they'll actually touch reserve list cards, because I would love like survival to be unbanned as well.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
I would love that, but the idea is out there that they are actually looking at and thinking and unbanning Legacy cards, and to me this is a whole new kind of way of looking at the Legacy ban list. Like they will do it, so I'm just excited for that, and I'm excited to see what the card does. As I said just now, like it's an exciting card, so it's gonna be cool.
We actually had a ban list episode not too long ago, right? Needon from our Discord actually went through it right after it was unbanned to provide what we actually said back then. So Kai was saying, okay, the card should be unbanned but put in a watch list. The most boring take you could have. It's like, thank you very much for contributing. Well, I wasn't much better. I thought it was like that Galvanic Relay is better, and I guess we can like quickly talk about that card right after, because there's well, actually, okay, so I said Galvanic Relay is better, which I stand by. Callum agrees that unbanned but watchlist. Guys, seriously, what is this?
Dude, this is such a scary card. Like there's no, the thing is, like, there's no other card in Magic that does something like this. Like, not a lot. I don't think there's any card that does something like this.
Yeah, I think at this point it's worth just saying like how it can go so crazy. So anyone that's not played with or seen the card before, what's the most powerful is you get like a storm count of 6 or 7 up or something, play some Lotus Petals and Dark Rituals or Rite of Flames, and then the first Mind's Desire can hit a second Mind's Desire, and when you cast the second Mind's Desire, it then triggers Storm again, but you also have the extra Storm of all the other cards you've cast with the first Mind's Desire, and so you can in theory just chain into all 4 of your Mind's Desires and cast your whole library if it works.
Yeah, I think once you hit the second Desire with like a decent Storm count from the first one, there's a pretty good chance, right?
Yeah,
that you hit the second one.
Yeah.
Like,
and then the third.
okay, so when we are saying like a good Desire, like at which Storm do you feel like, oh my god, this is probably gonna win the game?
I think like 7, 8, 9, somewhere in that thing. It really depends on the deck you've built. If you have Time Spiral, probably like 6, 7, because you're looking for Time Spiral or a Mind's Desire to carry on going. So I
was also feeling 7. Like with 7, I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, yeah, like I mentioned, it depends on how you build the deck. Might be full of air, but yeah.
What I like about the card, which is potentially one of the most scary things, but it makes like counter magic playing against these kind of decks. Do you counter the enable or the payoff? Often it was very right to like counter the payoff, sorry. And the trap you'd fall into is like against Dark Ritual decks, you'd like wait for the Infernal Tutor, but then their thought sees you after casting some Dark Rituals. So sometimes it's right to go after Dark Ritual. Now it's even more risky because their payoff has Storm, so your Fortress of Will doesn't do anything really.
Do you know that feeling when you're playing against Storm?
This is like Jonathan Alexander quote from 2012, where he goes like grinding station. You're just gonna play like a bunch of tendrils instead.
Yeah.
That's what I was about to say, right? Do you know the feeling when you play against Storm, when you feel like, okay, I'm gonna counter the payoff, and like after the third ritual, you feel like they have tendrils in hand, don't they? Shit.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
Then you're just dead anyway. Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess if you bottleneck them for one turn, and then like that's everything you need to take, but you really can only do that on the early rituals, and yeah. Oh yeah, but I'm excited. I'm super excited for Mind's Desire. Should we go over the unban decision? Actually, Carmen Handy wrote that.
Actually, let's just do a quick like recap on how we feel, because I want to hear if you still think it's Galvanic Relay is better. Kai, do you stick with your unban but watch list?
Well, as lame as it is, sort of. So like the thing that like. The one reason why Mind's Desire is not completely busted is that it's still a 6 mana sorcery, right? Like it's pretty heavy. It's only 1 mana less than Peer into the Abyss, for example, which is a game ender. Like if you resolve Peer into the Abyss, like you basically win the game. With Mind's Desire, like it costs a mana less. You don't need any life. Like if you have 1 life and no graveyard, you can still win, which is pretty appealing. And Storm is really hard to counter, and not a lot of people play Blusterstorm these days. It's all like Force of Wills, Force of Negations, and Dazes and Pyroblasts. So that's really nice. But you also have to get to 6 mana. And with the format this quote-unquote fast and disruptive, I don't know if you can like execute that game plan to go to get like a reasonable amount of like Storm and 6 mana. in comparison to like other decks. You know, like, other decks might just kill you before you do that. So,
Julian, what do you think?
I'm actually wondering, is there like a category of unban but no watch list? Like nobody ever says that, right? It's like, we're gonna unban this, but we're not gonna watch it. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
I honestly feel pretty much completely fine about this. I mean, I might be end up eating my words. I'm probably like very influenced by what we did during Legacy Unchained, which we'll talk about in a moment, which was an unban tournament we did 4 years ago where this card performed horribly. Part of it was that we didn't probably like build the decks to the
I think I built a blue-red version and everyone just copied it. So
I mean, that was actually what happened.
Yeah.
And it went 5 and 9 in the entire tournament, so
nice.
Not exactly exact. But yeah, what else? I'm just curious to see which archetype is actually gonna adopt this, because it's not 100% clear to me. Like, I'm leaning towards something like blue red or blue black, right? There are a couple of cards that work well with it by acting as additional copies of Mind's Desire post Mind's Desire, but they are not that great pre-Mind's Desire. I guess we can quickly talk about them as we are here right now. So that's the first one that came to my mind was Sins of the Past, because that's what people used back in Extended to try to make a blue-black deck. Because as I mentioned, we're going to link to this, the original Mind's Desire deck in Extended was blue-green. It used Heartbeat of Spring to basically make, it's a mana flare. It makes all of your lands tap for, actually both players' lands, if I remember correctly, tap for double. And then used like Early Harvest to untap all of your lands and stuff to make a lot of mana, and then Mind's Desire to like Gifts and Given, Fact or Fiction, Cunning Wish, Nostalgic Dreams, what have you, and eventually just win by brain freezing. That's what they did. Sins of the Past, I guess I should say what it does. It's a sorcery for colorless and 2 black. Until end of turn, you may play target instant or sorcery card in your graveyard without paying its mana cost. And then like the sorcery and Sins of the Past exile themselves. So it's basically another Mind's Desire if you hit it, but pre-Mind's Desire does next to nothing unless one of them got countered, or like you played a small Desire, then you can try to get it going again. Not the most exciting card, and like 6 mana just rotting in your hand, not exciting. Then there's Invoke Calamity. It's an instant for 1 colorless and 4 red. You may cast up to 2 instant and or sorcery spells with total converted mana cost 6 or less from your graveyard and or hand without paying the mana cost. If those spells would be put into your graveyard, exile them again. So it's basically like the same, but it also works from your hand. Like you can also cast stuff from your hand. When would you ever do that actually? I guess you would just like cast. I guess it gives you additional storm
in your hand, right? Yeah. I mean, it gives you additional storm, and it's a way to. It's like kind of manamorphosing your mana, like red mana, to be able to cast.
Oh,
it.
True.
And it's 1 less, so it's like +1 storm, +1 mana. You could like then cast like rituals off it as well. My first impression was, oh wow, this is like an instant, so you can do like Parodic Ritual and what's the other one? Desperate Ritual. And then you could use it with like Baral or something as well to reduce their costs, and then you could cast it pretty easily with like Pass in Flames, like playing 2 or 3 main deck Pass in Flames kind of thing. But at the end of the day, this card is just like, I don't know, +1 storm, +1 mana, and then fixes your mana sometimes. It feels a bit weak.
Yeah. I wasn't excited. Like also Sins of the Past, it feels like a card of the past, really. Not
like a card that doesn't do anything until you're like going into your combo turn, really.
Yeah.
And going off already. So yeah.
And here's the last one, Mizzix Master. I'm so happy I never needed to pronounce this before because I just realized. What?
Mizzixes.
I trust you on that. That card actually we used during Legacy Unchained, and that is exile target card that's an instant or sorcery from your graveyard. For each card exiled this way, copy it, and you may cast a copy without paying its mana cost. Exile Mizzix Mastery, and it has Overload 8. So this casts Mind's Desire from your graveyard for 4, right?
I like it because my idea for this was like you can Faithless Looting into the graveyard, or you could Entomb, I guess, or you can like
Sorcery Reanimator.
yeah, seriously. But like, you know, if you're playing Entomb, why aren't you getting Grizzlebrand? Good question. But I don't know. I don't think you play Entomb with it, but I liked it with Faithless Looting. And 4 mana is a lot easier to get like a bit of a storm cat up after some cantrips. Like Ponder, Brainstorm, Ritual, Mastery. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Like it's kind of interesting to see that that you guys like try to cast Mind's Desire like the cheapest cost, right? but make it more vulnerable to graveyard hate, which is exactly what Mind's Desire's strengths are. I think is that it doesn't care about the graveyard and it doesn't care about your life totals. So for all the time, like I've played Storm, it was always like, okay, so like what kind of hate can I blank from my opponent, right? Like, do they have graveyard hate, or do they attack my life total really quickly, or do they have just a truckload of discard or counters? And like Mind's Desire kind of beats almost all those things, except that it's expensive. So like I would probably like if I build a Mind's Desire deck, I'd probably try to build a really consistent deck that just does not use the graveyard or your life total as a resource like at all.
So you're basically building High Tide.
Kind of. Like I want to build a better High Tide. Maybe
you and a couple million people in the world.
No, like, but seriously, I think like the card I'm the most interested in flipping with Mind's Desire is probably Dark Petition. That card has not seen any play like since we got the Vishlar Talisman, I believe. But like, if you flip Dark, that's absurd to me. Like, you get a Demonic Tutor and a Dark Ritual for free, because like if you flip Dark Petition with Mind's Desire, like you technically don't need as much of a storm count, right? Because you can kind of continue from there. So yeah, I don't know, like some sort of like a Dark Ritual, Kovol Ritual, LEDs. But if it's maybe instead of Infernal Tutors, you play maybe like the full set of Dark Petitions, and this could like completely fail, but that's at least what I did back in the day when I picked up this Mind's Desire Storm deck in Vintage. Like, the core idea was to, you know, play like a full playset of Dark Petitions, and you find either like Necro, or you find one of your like Wheel of Fortunes, or you find Mind's Desire, and then your flips are insane, because not only do you hit more Moxen and mana, but also engines like Mind's Desire, for example.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, opening yourself up to these surgicals or whatever, like, you don't need to.
I mean, we're also like with this, we're basically trying to increase the ceiling, as in we want to hit the second Mind's Desire, and that's why we're adding additional copies of Mind's Desire. But Kai actually found the one that doesn't use the graveyard in Dark Petition. I like that a lot.
Yeah, like Dark Petition itself is a little like quote unquote soft to graveyard hate a little bit. If you wanna blank it, it's slightly terrible, but people played Dark Petition when Deathrite Shaman was legal, so
yeah, I was gonna say, like, it's weak to like basically nuking graveyard effects, but like surgical and stuff, that's actually that's interesting. Surgical also kind of works, right? Because you can only cast Dark Petition once Mind's Desire is in a graveyard, and then you cast Dark Petition, and then they surgical Mind's Desire in response. You can probably like find another way to win the game from there, hopefully, but
if you have a Tendrils in your deck and you have like adding 3 black mana plus the Dark Petition, searching for the Tendrils, and the other things off Desire to cast is probably okay.
Oh, totally. Yeah. You gotta figure it out. You know, like somehow.
Okay.
But
that actually makes me wonder: is this fixing a problem that Nauseam Tendrils very clearly has right now?
I'm not sure.
Like, counter magic has never been its problem, right?
Yeah. I guess this one, like, counter magic is a problem for Storm. I know Storm can be built to beat it. Like, you can play Veils or whatever defense grid, City of Solitude, as we talked about the other day. Like, Storm can definitely beat counter magic, but it doesn't have the space in the sideboard to afford that very often, because you need to fight the Chalices and the Trinispheres and Blood Moony stuff and all that kind of crap. So, like, I think Storm does lose to counter spells sometimes, so it's not as free, but Mind's Desire it's just so much better. It's like inbuilt good against counter spells, except for Flusterstorm in a way.
Yeah, I don't think that like at Nauseam Tendrils didn't get, like, the deck is still fine. It's just that like every other deck in the format has such a like strong gameplay, you know, that they got so many tools. Like, while you preordain in Ponder until turn 3 or 4, your opponents play Fable of the Mirror Breaker, or they play like an initiative creature, or they cast Doomsday and win the same turn, or they cast like, you know, maybe like a game-winning Minsc Imbue, or like the One Ring, you know, like those kind of cards, like those like quote-unquote like snowbally value cards, even like Teferi Time Raveler or Narset, you know, like those cards have a huge impact on the game as soon as turn 2, I think. And while the Storm deck really doesn't do much until the actual combo turn, like it's kind of underwhelming what Storm does until the combo turn, is maybe like what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah.
So basically what you're saying is it does have an issue against counter spells because it has to like address a lot of other things. So we what I'm getting here is we're not really solving problems, right? Because this still doesn't address the problem of the other decks doing something on the first 3 turns that Storm is not.
Yeah, like maybe. Like I remember back in the day, like I'm gonna quote myself here, but like I did a quote once where I said like if he can play Force of Will in Ad Nauseam Tendrils, the deck is incredible, right? Like something like that is what I said. And Mind's Desire is a blue card, and maybe like in Dark Petition is already like has a built-in low LED, so to speak, right? Because you don't have to go Hellbent to cast Dark Petition. So like maybe there is some way to build an Ad Nauseam Tendrils deck with Force of Will, and if that's possible, then that can solve a lot of problems.
And then you probably also play Preordain in it.
I mean, it just got unbanned in Modern, so yeah.
You know what I want to see, Kai? I want to see you go like Doomsday resolves, Mind's Desire for the entire pile.
God
Easy
damn
go.
it,
Let's do
Nice.
it.
Yeah, into 5 oracles.
The most unnecessary 5 oracles. And then your opponent is like Torpor Orb, and you're like, okay, beatdown, let's go.
What Mind's Desire also has going for it, it's similar to what like Kai just said about the graveyard, is Ant uses like Pass and Flames usually, but also Lion's Eye Diamond is obviously one of the best cards in the deck. But I think LED doesn't go in Mind's Desire, at least like from first instincts. There will be versions with it, but you could definitely build Mind's Desire without LED, and there'll be like high tidy versions and stuff, or just more rituals just with Lotus
I saw a
Petals.
Lotus Field version, which was basically like Twiddle Desire.
So
Actually,
like,
it was a deck.
So like, and
and
being weak to Null Rod and stuff, Mind's Desire will probably sidestep most of the time, and not using the graveyard as Kai said. So it's got those going for it as well. It's kind of like the way you play towards Mind's Desire just makes you more resilient to some of the usual hate.
Okay. By the way, we or at least I mentioned a lot of, hey, we will talk about this in a moment, and then we got so excited and we never addressed it. Why don't we quickly go back to Galvanic Relay and how that works compared to Mind's Desire? Because I remember I said that I think it's the better card, but I also believe it's not necessarily the best card on the ban list to compare against. Do you know like which card this reminds me much more of? Galvanic Relay?
Like
There's a card on the ban list.
Yoga's
Necro,
Bargain.
right?
Oh,
Yeah.
Necro, okay.
Yeah, because it shares that property, right? Of you get the payoff, but only on the next turn, and so it very much feels like Necro. So it's not necessarily the best card to compare against, even though they both are basically like Storm engines. And I think it's the better card. Like it's one of the cards that had one of the biggest impacts on the Epic Storm and completely revolutionized the deck, and also the way it plays against like tempo decks and stuff. So I think that's the better card. Mind's Desire, of course, is like the much higher ceiling. Like it can like it can just like do everything. It's one of the most exciting cards in Magic. Like nobody's out there is like, oh yeah, Galvanic Relay. Oh yeah, I can't. I mean, yeah, I guess some people are, but like, yeah, well, come on, it's Mind's Desire. It's like a Ferrari.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I wanted to say about Galvanic Relay. And we already touched on Legacy Unchained, which is another thing that we put off to, oh god, we're going to mention in a moment. Legacy Unchained was organized by Min Max Block in 2019. Callum, I think you were also involved in some way.
It was actually me, and they helped. Thank you, though.
Dude, I'm so sorry. Like, no, I only remember it was like published on that block.
They offered to host it, and then they did help a ton.
Actually, do you want to explain over us now that you actually you came up with
it was my idea, and it was not very well done.
It was,
we learned. I get it. But it was an idea. I didn't really know many people then, but I was like, I always love new things and new cards and unbans. Bans I like to an extent because I usually don't like the cards, but I love unbans and I love new exciting cards that aren't too obnoxious. So I just wanted to see how lots of these cards would look like unbanned. So I decided to like reach out to a bunch of people. And as I got more and more people like yourself, Julian, on board, using your names, I got even more people involved. So I ended up getting like all the cool Legacy players. And I was a nobody at that point, but I was just like, right, I'm going to get everyone cool to play this thing. So
you didn't invite Kai? Come on.
I invited Kai and he said no straight away. So
yeah, that's exactly what I said.
Mr. Roboto is way too cool for this. Anyway, the idea was like, everyone would build some decks using these ban cards. And then I wanted to get like a feel for all the different cards, get a higher sample size, not like one match and one person chooses one thing. So it ended up being too much work of it in the end. But we unbanned. Do you have the list in front of you?
I should.
But I don't know. We didn't unban everything. There was no like demonic tutor or vampiric tutor. I think mostly no tutors, but there was like Mind's Desire, Wheel of Fortune, Frantic Search.
You want me to go through the cards that we unbanned?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so we unbanned Deathrite Shaman, Earthcraft, Frantic Search, Gataxian Probe, Goblin Recruiter, Hermit Druid, Mana Drain, Mind's Desire, Mind Twist, Survival of the Fittest, Census Divining Top, Wheel of Fortune, Vinefall, Giacomo's Bargain, and we also unbanned Dig Through Time, but it came with the condition that you only played in one of your 5 submitted decks.
Yeah, because we kind of knew that one was too good, but it was like we wanted to have some fun with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Mind's Desire being one of them. So we did a survey, which I forgot about, and you managed to pull up. And as you said, so 9 out of 18 of the players wanted it unbanned, so half. That's pretty interesting. And you nicely caught that Julian, you and myself did not want it unbanned. So I'm going to completely backtrack on that and say I was wrong there.
Well, actually, let me pull up the reasoning, because we also had to put in our reasoning. So I said we probably just haven't figured out how to break it yet.
Yeah,
and I mean, which is also like a cheap answer. And oh, dude, you submitted like an entire article almost on every card. Okay, so I need to actually put you on the big screen, because my small screen can't.
Well, being the person who wanted to get the whole thing rolling, I had to have opinions on it.
Yeah. So you said this card seems to be one of the most controversial ones on the list. Some people think it's very good, other thinks it's busted. I lean towards the later, but I'm excited to see how it pans out in this league.
Yeah, so I thought it'd be better than it was.
I think a lot of people thought it would be better than it was.
Yeah, I noticed like Rodrigo said it's busted and shouldn't be unbanned as well. And I don't know, so basically it went 5 and 9 as you caught in all the matches and stuff. As you said also, they're like notably all the other decks it's playing against are way more powerful, but it also did get Probe, Wheel of Fortune, Frantic Search, and Dig Through Time sometimes, and Windfall. So it wasn't really a good test to see how the card is. But I don't know, like there's so much hate in Legacy that stops this card even now, even without other decks being more powerful, that yeah, I'm just, the more I think about it, the more thinking about how to build the deck, the more I'm like, yeah, it's good against counter magic, but it's still going to struggle against like the Thorn or Spheres and Trinisphere, or Mindbreak Trap is really good against the deck as well.
Mindbreak Trap works really well. We already touched on this. So what exactly works well against this? So if you're listening and you're wondering how do I fight Mind's Desire, what do I need to equip myself with for the next at least like couple of weeks as everybody tries it?
Yeah, so not really Force of Will, Daze, and
imagine dazing a Mind's Desire copy, and that's the one that would have otherwise killed you.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, I've got a story. Just a very quick tangent. I played. So we used to do monthly vintage like meetups in a pub years ago, and I was always playing really weird stuff. So I made like a Triskaidekaphobia deck, and I made a Crush of Tentacles deck, and it was all terrible, really. But you have Black Loads in your deck, so it doesn't matter. And one time I built Tin Fins, but it had one Mind's Desire with like DT and stuff in there. And I was playing against blue-white moat control Snorefest, and I thought season the turn before. You can tell I remember every single detail, so it's really painful. I thought season the turn before, they had nothing, coast is clear, so I untap, get my mana, and then go for like a Hail Mary 3 of Mind's Desire. And they top decked a Flusterstorm, and I had some mana to pay. Oh, so I had a bigger Mind's Desire. They top decked Flusterstorm, counted all but 3. I flipped like nothing, and the fourth card was Emrakul. And I was just really upset that this fucking top deck Flusterstorm stopped me Mind's Desiring into Emrakul, the Aeon's Storm.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, that's my scar I'll carry for years. But what you do want is Flusterstorm is very good because, you know, Flusterstorm obviously has Storm as well. So if they tap out to go for the Mind's Desire, you can then put lots of your copies on copies of the Mind's Desire, counter all of it. Stifle's pretty good. Like, they still get the original Mind's Desire, but stifling the Storm trigger is pretty strong. Mindbreak Trap, very good. So you can let the Mind's Desires resolve, and then actually that's pretty bad. But for them to get the Storm,
wait.
It's fine. It's fine. Yeah, the copy's gone in the stack. I'm going crazy. Ignore what I just said.
Dude, I had the same exact like error in my head as I was like preparing for the episode.
They want to get like more than 2 Storm ups. They're going to cast more than 3 spells. The Mind's Desire being probably the 7th or 8th, whatever. And then you can let the Storm trigger resolve. It all goes in the stack, and then you Mindbreak Trap all of them, and they go away. So Mindbreak Trap's very good. It all depends.
And also notably that gets around Veil of Summer.
Yeah, true. Just a good point. Because I can see these decks playing green for sure. It really then depends on where they land. If they're like a Dark Ritual deck or a Rite of Flame deck or Time Spiral deck with High Tide. So it depends. But I think stuff like Thorn of Amethyst will be just very, very strong against these kind of decks. Because
the thing about Thorn of Amethyst though is if they have like some mana floating, then they can actually they don't know what they're gonna hit, right? So
but it's also like it's a 6 mana sorcerer. It's hard to get Storm up and then cast it as well.
Yeah, you're right. As Thorn of Amethyst is going to be absolutely insane against.
Yeah,
so
like
you're very much right.
They'll be playing blue. They'll have like Echoing Truth or whatever. Like they'll, as Ant does as well. You want like ways to kind of protect it or get more of these things down. But stuff like that and Trinisphere is amazing. Aethersworn Canonist.
But I still can't believe that like it's the year 2023 and Echoing Truth is still a card in Legacy.
Yeah,
it's just like it's been around for so long. It's like one of those cards that like
bad.
utility cards. They don't really like make it very far, like very deep into the history of a format, unless they're like, I don't know, like Brainstorm or Force. But like this bounce spell has been around since the beginning of well, whenever it was printed. And now we still play. It's like literally like a slightly better boomerang.
They probably play Brazen Borrower now, which is a bit boring, but
you know, it's somewhere like Echoing Truth was like, oh, at least somebody remembered me.
Yeah.
For a very short moment, its eyes lit up, and okay.
But
Canonist I'm most excited about.
Yeah. Interestingly, so we will touch on it more, but we will creative technique just coming on Magic Online has created some waves as well. And a lot of the same hate will apply to Mind's Desire and that deck. So you can cover a lot of bases with My Bright Traps and Spheres and stuff like that.
Totally. You can also do like some nasty stuff with like Silence, for example, or Roomstrong. You know,
great point.
You saw a couple of those cards on Several Breakfast, for example. Like even though the deck is just not very good right now, like there are a couple of ways to interact with Mind's Desire, right? Like it's not completely lights out, and like when they banned the card, like it didn't really enter the format Legacy, but like back then there was no Flusterstorm or like there was no Mindbreak Trap, right? And like when Scourge came out. Like people had like a really tough time fighting this Mind's Desire, I think.
I'm trying to remember what you know. What you guys keep going. I'm actually gonna look up what people tried to find Mind's Desire with back then. I know where to look.
Like I mean, Scourge was the Storm set, right? I think like every color had a Storm spell. Like it was Tendrils for black, and it was like this weird land tutor thingy in green.
Yeah. Sprouting Vines,
which is really terrible. But
green had the one that made 4/4 beasts, Hunting Pack.
Hunting Pack, yeah, really good.
And I think white was Bone Shards, was it, or Wing Shards?
Yeah, Wing Shards saw some Legacy play.
Wing Shards is not too bad, and then there's like the super terrible Grape Shot, Twin Brother, which in red, which only shoots creatures, I think.
Oh yeah,
I don't even know what the card's called, but it's like a 3 mana sorcery, I think, in red, and it has Storm, deal 1 damage to target creature, but creature only.
There's Reaping the Graves as well, which is pretty sick. That's 2 and a black instant, return a creature from graveyard to your hand with Storm. That's kind of played in Pauper.
Oh, that's not too bad. Okay,
I've tried like that with Songs of the Damned and like what's the Fluctuator called? Yeah, that's the one. I don't know. Bad brews, don't go there.
Yeah, of course you did.
Songs of the Damned is the one that gives you like mana equal to the cards in your graveyard, or creatures in your graveyard.
Yeah, right? One black for each creature in graveyard. That is my vote for like nearly so ultra busted. The card feels like it should be so obscenely busted, but it's just never quite there.
Okay, so I looked up what people were doing at Pro Tour Los Angeles 2005 back then, which is like pre-Legacy. Actually, no, it's not even pre-Legacy, but it's like in a different format. And it looks like nobody literally cared about combo in the sideboard, which makes sense because like Psycha Talk was around and like Red Deck or Boros deck wins and stuff like that, Scepter Chant. So if I remember correctly, people played a lot of discard. People played a lot of like, in Psycha Talk at least, like counter magic and soft counter magic, like circular logic and stuff. So they were either fighting about like the Heartbeat of Spring, they would fight about like the early harvest, not so much the actual Mind's Desire. Like that was a case of like, oh, if this goes off, you know, it might already be too late anyways. So they would counter like your setup spell, which would be like a Gifts Ungiven. And that's how they did it. So there was like no dedicated like permanent hate that you get out there and then you try to make it work. So yeah, that's what it kind of worked back then.
Maybe the card was fine for all this time and we just never knew because it seemed too good then.
Actually, when was Mind's Desire truly busted? I mean, it was. Carmen mentions in her article it was one of the. It is actually the quickest banning in the history of Magic, which usually gets attributed to what's it called? Memory Jar.
Yeah.
Memory Jar was actually like legal for like 2 weeks. I want to say.
I thought it was less than a week. I thought it was.
But the thing is, like, we actually, we actually have a ban list episode. It's called the first 6 bans, where we go over the history of the first 6 bans. This is actually where I would look to get to fresh up on history, which I guess we also have to do, because we also talk about memory jar and the exact history of how and why it got banned. But I guess that's not really for this episode. But check it out. It's one of our most beloved episodes. It's one of the episodes we received the most feedback on, that people loved it. And at some point I want to do like the next history step, the next 6 bands or whatever we would call it. But the first 6 bands, that was like a really good episode. Loved that. So yeah, outside of Vintage, I guess we haven't really seen it do all that crazy stuff, right? Because it never really had a big chance.
Yeah, it's always been the theory behind it of what it can do.
It's just, this is actually, I just realized this is why it's so exciting to us, as you mentioned, right? It's always been like this big Eldritch Doom thing that could come up from the deep sea, and it has never actually been properly unleashed on like a format that would try to break it outside of like that time it was in extended. And yeah, now we're all excited. Like, it's coming up from the sea, and the storm is going to be big.
I'm going to be honest, I'm just like counting down the minutes till we finish this to go and play League with it.
Yeah, same. It's already legal right now, right?
Yeah. It's
crazy.
We can also like stop the cast right now and just
play. Come back.
As soon as we're done, we're going to like queue into each other. And dear listener, if all 3 of us played like mirrors, who do you think would win the most? Have a think now.
Oh yeah, that's one of the most interesting. Actually, how much is it on Magic on GoatBots? It's like 3 tickets.
3-ish.
It's probably nothing.
No,
it says it's 3.3. It buys a 2 point. Yeah,
I'll sell to you for 4 if you want.
Like, yeah, for all the listeners, like, if you want to buy that card and paper, like, now it's still crazy cheap. It's like under €1, I think. So
yeah, like on card market, it's like a couple cents.
A couple of cents,
increase.
yeah.
I'm one of these guys that, like, any cards that I just like a lot, I'll have one in my collection in a binder of just things to look at. So I've got one, I think.
You're the true collector.
But this is like so classic, because I don't think that anyone has more than 1 copy of Mind Desire. Well, why would you want to have more than 1 copy of Mind Desire? Like, that card has never been legal in a format where you can play 4.
Yeah, it's true. I think everyone has one.
Because like,
I mean,
now,
extended. Once again, this is one of my favorite formats, so I want to I want to stand for extended in 2005. I loved it.
All right, fine. So people like you have.
Dude, seriously, I'm actually gonna link it, because it's one of the coolest videos that I ever watched, where they have like Star Wars kid, Chris McDaniel, play it, and they stylize him as like this absolute child prodigy, and like I think one of the comments was, only he knows what's going on in his head right now, because he was like crafting all these like Mind's Desire gifts and given lines and stuff and nostalgic dreams, and it is that tournament and those videos especially that caught my attention, that turned me into a tournament player. And now that Mind's Desire is coming back, I'm feeling very reminiscent of that time, 14 years, actually 19 years. No, I'm so bad. 18 years ago. Here we go.
Yeah.
So we're going to link it in the show notes.
Nice.
Other than that, should we touch on what Carmen is actually saying in the article about why they're unbanned?
Yeah, let's go.
Definitely.
Cool. So I'm not going to read the entire thing, but let me quote the beginning. Magic has a rich and storied history, including the fastest banned card in the history of the game, Mind's Desire. At the time of its release, Magic's threats far outweighed the power of its answers, and creatures were a much, much smaller portion of Legacy, or Type 1.5 metagame. A lot's changed. 2 decades have passed since Mind's Desire was banned, and at that time, creatures have become more powerful. New Planeswalker cards have been introduced, and there are multiple cycles of free spells that made it much harder to be a lover of the storm mechanic. In the interest of making sure the combo players also get the same level of new content and strength that other archetypes incidentally gain through our tentpole offerings, we've decided to unban Mind's Desire and Legacy. Ooh. What do you think about that, guys?
Yeah, so it's kind of like a little treat almost, like to the Legacy community.
That's what it sounds like, right?
Like it's the same also with like Preordain. Like both articles like kind of seem similar to me, where like they didn't ban anything, but instead, here's a little goodie for you guys. Like that's how it sounds, right? Because I don't think that Legacy particularly needs Mind's Desire, and I also don't particularly think that Modern needs Preordain. It's just like in both formats, it's kind of like something for new brews, which is always obviously exciting and things, but it kind of sounds like a little like gift, It's like a little present from Wizards.
Totally, for sure. And they could have done more. My hope is this is like the first of more things where they like say, here's this, let's see how it goes. They don't want to put like 3 old banned cards into the format all at the same time because, you know, it creates hype for just one. Or like they want to be able to say, oh, this was a mistake. They backtrack on it, which I don't think they will have to with this. But maybe like there's another ban or unban window coming up in October. Maybe they let this go for a couple of months, then there's another one, or maybe it's next year still, probably is, and then maybe they unban another thing next year, and then they keep, you know, feeding these cards back into the format. But
yeah, they did actually mention that something we already speculated about, and back then we got confirmation on it on Twitter, but now it's also on the mothership, that they use these emergency ban list windows that they created for standard for eternal formats, or rather like non-rotating formats, much more leniently, right? So it's not like an emergency ban or unban window for the non-rotating formats, but it's considered an emergency ban window for standard, which otherwise would only get 1 burn per year right now. Yeah.
So all for other formats, like including modern and especially legacy, like they can just do what they want at any time, really, and so they'll have these windows where it's more likely than not, but yeah.
You know what's interesting to me? Because when I read the description of Legacy, it's kind of like the opposite of what in parts it was the opposite of what Legacy was like to me back right around 2005, 6, like 7ish at the beginning of the format. I agree that when Carmen mentions that the threats were far more powerful than the answers back then, but I disagree that creatures were a much smaller portion of the Legacy metagame. To me, when I started, the impression I had was that Legacy back then was the creature format. And for example, Standard was much more combo focused than Legacy. Like Legacy had combo decks, but they sucked. If you look back, like you don't really see all that many combo decks doing well in the very early history of Legacy, and a lot of times they were still like creature focused, like, you know, like we talked about Golden Graham's Gamekeeper, Bomberman, and that kind of stuff. If I'm trying to remember, like what were the most powerful combo decks back then, or even like I guess control decks also counts. A lot of people loved Landstill, but in the grand scheme of things, Landstill wasn't nearly as good as a lot of like the creature based decks. When we had like Goblins was a fan favorite. Threshold became a thing and like dominated for years, and then all of these that guy Ale style decks and sometimes Splashing Green and stuff. So I mean, it doesn't really matter, I guess, but that's something that stuck out to me. But I still agree that Magic's threats back then were much more powerful than the answers. You already mentioned, right? We didn't have stuff like Mindbreak Trap. We didn't have stuff like Flusterstorm and everything that we would use now to stop a Mind Desire. I think the only thing keeping back Mind Desire back then was, as you mentioned, it wasn't a ban list, and
Stifle.
Yeah, Stifle was actually like pretty popular, even though only like in basically 1.5 decks.
Threshold, and didn't like Team America play it sometimes? Or was that more hymns?
Yeah, Team America came well. Kind of later, like 5 years later. Okay. But I guess a lot of people would still consider 2010, 11 like the beginning of Legacy.
That's where I feel like see it and stuff.
Yeah, there was sometimes, you know, you would sometimes see Stifles in like Landstill list, like as a 2-off or something, just like a value Stifle.
Stifle
but
anyway,
was
played everywhere, wasn't it? It was just a good card that everyone played in blue decks. Stifle.
Oh,
well, look at your old deck list. I feel like it was played more.
It was more like, yeah. You saw it like as a 2-off in some random value decks.
Yeah,
because that's how it worked. Yeah. Anyway, I guess that doesn't really matter all that much for Mind Desire today. Guys, one thing I think that's actually interesting also like for listeners and for us, what are like the bottlenecks of a Mind Desire deck? What's the biggest weakness other than like the cards you already mentioned that are good against it, like on a strategic level?
I think one, Carmen's point about Bowmasters being in the format and probably punishes decks that will play Mind Desire is just the base level interaction you're going to have to be facing. Like Bowmasters is still absolutely everywhere in Legacy, so if you're building Mind Desire and you're putting like Time Spirals and obviously all the cantrips in your deck, you need something to deal with Bowmasters because they will be playing them game 1 against you. So that's the base level interaction where Bowmasters might just kill you when you're going off. But if you're not playing Mind Desire,
totally.
Then,
I feel like I mean, Carmen already said it in her article, but like the answers are so much better than back in the day, right? Like we got, I feel like because the threats are so powerful, like the answers also have to be powerful. Like it's kind of like nice and balanced, but there are also a lot of really good threats for like half the cost, right? For example, like Doomsday, for example, is like half the mana of Mind's Desire, and like other engines, but like Show and Tell has been around for a very long time now, like even longer than Mind's Desire, and like even Planeswalkers like Minsc and Boo, or like the One Ring, like those threats are absolutely devastating, and like so then format needs a lot of good answers, and I'm really happy that Orcish Bowmaster is still around. Like as much as the card is a little annoying sometimes, but having Bowmaster games is like super interactive. I love it, and I feel like I understand when people want to do crazy stuff with Mind's Desire, but you gotta understand that most players have something to keep you in check, right?
Yeah. So I was thinking that one of the biggest weaknesses is just like discard, straight up take the Mind's Desire away, and then what you're gonna do?
Yeah, totally agree. That's where your buddy Mizzix's Mastery comes in. But
yeah. see that's why we got so maybe not excited, but that's why Callum I were immediately looking at the cards to cast stuff from the graveyard, because the feeling is like, oh, they're gonna take away your big 6 mana payoff spell, which is like one of the most common ways to deal with like expensive payoff spells.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, they could also like go ahead and just try to discard all your mana, right, and just make you.
Yeah,
you sit there with like a uncastable 6-drop, for example.
I really do think taxing spells are going to be brutal against the deck as well. Thalia, Sphere of Resistance, Thorn of Amethyst, Trinisphere.
Oh, absolutely. Oh,
like they're really punishing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
One thing to point out in the deck's favor, this was picked up really early by everyone. Lorien Revealed is amazing in the deck. Just being like, yeah, like first of all, it's it makes you hit your land drops and you can play less lands, and I think all these land cyclers are actually pretty amazing in the format. We can
actually, I wanted to talk about them to a very big extent on today's episode, but then this happened.
All right, let's schedule the next episode. We'll talk about the land cyclers, because I think we could talk about them a lot. I think Lorien Revealed and the Troll of Khazad-dûm especially are incredible and going to be format staples basically. So
I mean, they already are.
They already are. You're right. But yeah, Lorien Revealed in this deck is just like, you get to play less lands, which means less lands in the deck means better Mind's Desire hits. And then Lorien Revealed itself is a great hit off Mind's Desire because it's draw 3. So
yeah, really nice.
I think
really
you just slam dunk 4 of them in the deck.
Yeah. Like it kind of reminds me of like, it's a little far-fetched maybe, but like Dig Through Time in Gold, like Omnitel, where like the card Dig Through Time is like super good before the card Show and Tell into Omniscience, but it's also crazy good after Omniscience. And Lorien Revealed is not particularly like, it's decent before you go off, but like if you flip that, holy smokes, that's a free Ancestor Recall.
Cool. So we already looked at a couple of deck lists online. We also got like one from Marcos Ewald who said this is the most low effort random thing he threw together, so we're not going to go too deep into this. It's like a high tide version that plays as the payoff is 4 Timespur for Mind's Desire. I think this is somewhere I could see it. I mean, obviously it needs tuning. I love that it has 4 Lorien Revealed already. Is this bringing back High Tide? Maybe.
It's definitely an improvement.
Yeah, which it very much needs.
It fixes like one of the 10 issues of the deck, basically.
Yeah,
right.
I do love that. So, it's kind of what you would think with 4 Timespur, 4 Mind's Desire, 4 Lorien Revealed, and then you've got your Thunders and Brainstorms, High Tides, Dress Down, Merchant Scroll, 2 Cunning Wish, 3 Turnabout, and 1 Path of Negation. I love 3 main deck Dress Downs, like clearly saying, I'm scared of Orcish Bowmasters. That's the kind of thing you need to be building in mind if you're building this kind of deck.
Oh, that's sweet. So you go for like the end of turn Dress Down, untap, and then you go into the Mind's Desire.
Yeah, or just cast the Dress Down on your turn.
Randomly cycling it, yeah, makes sense. Yeah. Dude, yeah, I'd be excited. Like we always kept saying like Frantic Search would be a great addition to the deck. Now we got Mind's Desire, which is like fixing it on the top end, like not on the setup end or the middle end. But yeah, I could see being a thing. So guys, half a year from now, you're gonna call it now. Half a year from now, what's gonna be the impact of Mind's Desire on Legacy?
It's not played competitively.
I will say that it's gonna end up being a tier 0.5 deck.
Tier 0.5.
2.5, so it's better than what tier 1.
Oh no! What did I say? No,
tier 5 or 0.5?
I was gonna say like 2.5.
Okay.
Oh, 2.5.
Yeah,
okay.
it's gonna be like oh my goodness, 2.5 fringe
So it's
deck
basically high tide.
a little better than high tide, but
Oh, high tide is actually tier 3.
but like
okay.
I think that there will probably be a non-high tide Mind's Desire Storm deck, like something like Edna's and Tendrils. I'm pretty sure about that, but the deck's not gonna be as good as most people might think.
And if I had to call it, I think I'm also saying it's not going to be played competitively, but it's still going to see play here and there. I mean, people that never stopped people from playing certain decks, right? So you'll see it in the format, and you wouldn't be completely surprised to see in the format. But I think,
in 6 months,
huh?
But in 6 months, I think in 6 months you won't see it like in any challenges results.
That's what I mean, like with played competitively, right?
Okay,
so people will like play it randomly, like in
But
paper.
in leagues, you'll come. Yeah.
It's a crazy fun card to stream though. So
I'm so excited that they unbanned it. Oh, dude, it's gonna give us so many great streams.
Oh, dude, it can bet.
And like I think Callum mentioned it in the beginning. I love the precedent it sets where they're actually looking at stuff, and here's to hoping, survival of the fittest. Let's go.
And don't take this as us being negative, like saying that we don't think it's that good or like have a big competitive element to it. It's still an awesome unban because it's like loads of people love this card. It's a kind of fan favorite, I would say, to an extent. Brings back great memories, a lot of nostalgia, or the people that haven't played with it before will be like, oh my god, this is crazy. And as I said earlier, it's just one of the most exciting ones they could have chosen because Earthcraft would have just been so boring.
All right. Also, this is like for all the listeners, like this is like your moment to shine, to prove that you're such a better brewer than the three of us monks. So
let's go. Let's prove
just
us
go
wrong.
out there, just get some cards and synergies together, and just come back and present us your brews, your wild brews.
You know what I would love to have heard, or like would be able to know? How was that conversation brought up at Wizards of the Coast? It's like, I guess Carmen woke up one day and be like, I'm going to unban Mind's Desire and Legacy. And then like she walks into the office, she's like, okay, I got this idea, hear me out. I really wonder how these talks come about. I guess they might have like scheduled meetings where everybody like has some thoughts and then they already arrive, like being ready for somebody to suggest something. Or is it like completely out of the blue? Hey, let's do this.
Yeah, my guess is they talked about every single card, and there was some quick ones like Black Lotus, obviously you don't talk about, but like they take all the potentials and they go through it, and then they discuss what they want it to do, what the unban wants to do, and so they
like we did in January, like that episode we did, the unban episode.
Yeah, I think they probably got together and talked about every single one, saying, I mean, the fact that they have unbanned it means that they were having these discussions about the format itself, and so if they were like, what does the format want? I think they could have come to the same conclusion of we want it to be something more exciting than just a bad card. So
I wonder what's next in line. And I love that you mentioned like, right, Earthcraft would be like, okay, whatever. Dude, we've been joking about Earthcraft for such a long time. What if it like gets unbanned in like 2 years and then completely destroys Legacy and like it never recovers, and we're like, oh my god.
Before we carry on, I have to just say sorry, Alex, who's probably listening to this. Alex is one of our friends from London, and he loves Enchantress and he loves Earthcraft. So sorry, Alex.
Oh my goodness.
Shout out to Alex. Enchantress, amazing. My first Legacy deck.
Oh yeah, he's the biggest Enchantress fan I've ever met in my life.
First article I ever wrote.
Nice.
So here's another exciting deck, and something we would have also talked about. I guess we can also like talk about it a little bit more right here, right now, and that is Mississippi River. And Mississippi River has flooded Magic Online and completely destroyed Magic Online, and it also almost top-8ed the NRG series Legacy event that we talked about, I think like 2 or 3 episodes ago, where it was already played in paper. I think we explained the deck in that episode. So if you want to go back to, I want to say like 2 episodes ago, 2 or 3, you can see it in the show notes where we talk about it and explain the entire deck. But Callum, can you give us like a very quick rundown for somebody who has never heard about Creative Technique and Mississippi River as a deck?
Yep. So Creative Technique is a sorcery for 4 colorless and 1 red mana, so 5 total. It says, it says shuffle your library, reveal cards from top of your library until you reveal a non-land. I don't actually have it in front of me. Do you have it in front of you?
No. But
basically, you flip cards until you reveal a non-land, then you can cast it without paying its mana cost. And your opponent does the same. Oh no, you do that.
Okay, you know what?
I got it. And then you reveal cards on top of your library until you reveal a non-land, and then you can cast it without paying its mana cost. And there's this ability called Demonstrate. And when you cast Creative Technique, you can have your opponent copy it. If you do, you copy it as well. So you get 2 creative techniques, they get 1. And then the idea of the deck is the whole deck is all Cascaders with 6 mana or higher. So you could, every time you cast a Cascader, you always hit a creative technique, and then you get 2 more creative techniques, which will then hit more 6 mana cost or higher Cascaders. So like Maelstrom Wanderer, Apex Devastator, Boarding Party, Aurora Phoenix, Sweet Gum Recluse, and Sakashima's something.
And most of you like Prodigy.
Prodigy, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like it's another 6 mana thing, and it can copy something and came into play this turn.
Okay.
So like you mentioned, the whole idea is we have only Cascaders that are 6 mana or higher. So the most expensive, or the more expensive the first Cascader you cascade into is, the more additional Cascade triggers you're gonna get, because then you keep going down. So if you only hit like a 6 mana one, you're eventually gonna get another creative technique. So if you really want to know what this does and why there's Tibalt's Trickery and Throes of Chaos in sideboard, which is completely mind-blowing technique. I've never seen something like this. Go back to the episode 2 or 3 episodes ago where we go very much into detail about all of this. But what this does is you literally have a single mission in this deck. You want to cast Creative Technique. It's super hard to counter because you demonstrated, so you get 2 copies and they have to counter both copies. You also play a lot of basically soul lands. Like we even play was it like invasion fetch lands, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, so Tinder Farm, Self-Event.
Yeah. I watched the finals of the last Legacy Challenge on Saturday, and the opponent in the finals literally went first and went like, Cypher went go. Like, what do you think? Like, if you're in the finals of the Legacy Challenge,
Powerful
and the opponent
format.
plays like, yeah. Also, something that's really cool is you can try to cast the 6 mana Cascaders, which then cascade into Creative Technique. So you don't necessarily need to have it in the opening hand as long as you get to like 6 mana and have one of your, I want to say like 12 or something, 11 6 mana spells, or technically even 7 mana spells, but then like it gets a little crazy. You know what I love about this? Because shoutouts first of all to Sean Goddard, who used this deck to win the Legacy Challenge. Do you know why there's only 3 copies of Creative Technique in that deck and not 4?
Oh yeah, he just couldn't get them.
He literally couldn't find the 4th copy.
Yeah.
Really? Is that the oh my goodness.
So he managed to snipe 3 from Mana Traders in the morning somehow. I'm surprised they had it and available to rent, honestly. But yeah, he managed to get 3, and then he just couldn't get the 4th one in time for the challenge. Doesn't matter, still wins anyway.
Which is so funny because the whole deck is completely based around this single card. And he's like, oh, okay, let's just like cut 25 copies.
Yeah. Anyone that doesn't know Sean, he's just unbelievably good at every single thing in Magic he touches. I think he lost 2 win-ins in a row the last Pro Tour. And he always comes to LLMs and does well. He's like top 8 with Esper Lutri and stuff. Like, he is a guy that just loves Magic, so he'll play like the weird, wacky stuff, but is actually just a complete crusher as well. He's won 2 Mox Opens online as well, which is insane. So yeah, it's no surprise to see him win a challenge, but off the bat with 3 creative technique as well, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, holy smokes, yeah.
So yeah, to finish the thought, so you end up with a board full of like random 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 mana creatures, sometimes an Emrakul if you hit it off on one of the creative techniques. They usually like all get haste because you have Maelstrom Wanderer on there, and then you just attack for the win. It's literally as easy. Right. I think the deck plays like 39 lands. It's completely crazy.
Oh yeah, God, 39 lands and so many soul lands.
Yeah.
Had you seen Apex Devastator before?
I play Apex Devastator in Commander deck, and even then it's pretty good. But like, it's like, dude, like Magic Online completely crushes. I think like when I played against this deck on Magic Online this morning, and I felt absolutely like I played Golgari, like Fiend Artisan, Elves, whatever. But like nothing I played had any text against this deck. Like no Collector Oof. Thought this didn't matter because they're just gonna cascade in another creative technique. And like endurance, like all the like usual cards that attack Legacy, or even like Bowmaster really didn't do much against this deck.
No,
I feel completely helpless.
It doesn't draw any cards.
This deck just completely shits on all those like regular Legacy pillars. Like even like the usual. I guess what's kind of good is like Wasteland, because like Wasteland is quote unquote like a real time walk against this deck, right? But
Magus of the Moon also.
Well, it slows them down, right?
By quite a lot.
But by a few turns, yeah. But like you better win with that Magus in like what in the 3-4 turns you gain.
I mean, we basically tell them the earliest you can win is turn 5, I guess. So yeah. I mean, it's not the thing that stops them, but it's a great card to bot in against them if you have like a reasonably quick clock. Like it basically buys you extra turns.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, this deck is just absurd. Like it kind of reminds me of the very first Gyruda deck when it came out, and when the companion rule was still like the old one where
oh god, you could like cast it straight away.
Yeah, because like this deck, this Mississippi River deck, like I think every single spell except Emrakul the Eonsthorn cascades into Creative Technique.
Yeah.
So like all you gotta need is like an opening of like 6 lands and literally one spell in your deck, right? Because that whatever that spell is except Emrakul, like it's gonna cascade into Creative Technique in anyway. So
Yeah, and counter magic can only do so much about it because we also have like the Throes of Chaos and Tibet's Trickery engine where they can literally do it every single turn until you like either like remove Throes of Chaos from the graveyard or like you counter all of the creative techniques, which is like so hard.
May I tell you like a little secret?
Yeah.
Just kill them before they do their thing.
Probably,
seriously. Right? Yeah, dude. I don't think that you can out-control this deck. I don't think so.
So you guys think this deck actually had legs? Because when we saw it like get a 9th place at the NRG tournament, I felt like, yeah, I mean, it's cute and like it has been theorized for quite a while in Magic Online. We saw it like very rarely on paper events, but it's probably not that good. But now with all like the frustration I see against it on Twitter and like what you just mentioned that you felt like helpless, is this like real?
I don't think it's that good. I think it's quite weak to Wasteland, and with people packing Hate for Mind's Desire, it's going to be hitting. It has 4 Otawara and like 2 Boseijus, so it can beat Spheres and stuff, but I think it does have some easy ways to attack the deck.
Yeah, like either Swan Canonist, like those kind of cards, like what's it called? Deafening Silence. You know, like those kind of cards are going to be absolutely like on the crushing side, right? Like you this because there are no cantrips in this deck, and there are no ways to find anything like particular like tutor effects.
Mm-hmm.
Your top deck stars are pretty brutal, I think.
I like how it actually has counter spells, like in the form of Mirror Shell Crab in the sideboard, which you can like channel, basically like cycle, and if you do, you can counter. I think you can mana leak something, right? Callum, you know these cards.
The crab.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 2 and a blue to discard it. Then you can mana leak a spell or an ability.
Oh, so it's not cycle, so you don't draw an extra card. So it's literally like 3 mana leak.
Yeah.
but it's like 7 mana total.
But you can mana leak an ability as well. It's quite cool. It's like a stifle or a mana leak.
Dude,
I trophied with it in Painter.
I remember.
Yeah,
that's why like I was asking you about it.
Yeah. I never actually welded it in, but I threatened to, and I hardcast it a few times. I beat D&T by hardcasting it and then copying it with Fable.
Cool.
Anyway, sorry.
So yeah, I'm excited to see this deck in action, but I could see like hating playing against it because like the decks I usually like to play, they're also like pretty bad against it. Also, notably, I think Thorn of Amethyst doesn't really do anything except for making the creative technique more expensive, right?
Yeah, but the first one costs 6, and then the next cascade that hits it makes it pay 1 more again.
Yeah, you still have to pay for the extra one. So it's probably gonna leave you like in a bad state, but it's not gonna kill you right away.
They'll still have like a big creature or 2, and so
Apex Devastator 10/10. Let's go.
Yeah. You definitely want Sphere against them. I am going to be packing 4 Mobit traps in my sideboard for a little bit, I think.
Oh my goodness! Here we go.
I'm sorry, not sorry. Yeah. Look, Painter's a cute little guy. He just wants to survive.
Does Mindbreak Trap actually work all the way against them?
Yeah. Why not?
So they cast Creative Technique and they demonstrate it.
Yeah.
And then the first one resolves.
No, they all go on the stack. So at some point, there's 3 Creative Techniques, 1 for you and 2 for the opponent, if they're the opponent, and you could just remove all of them apart from yours.
Yeah, but then the creature's already in play, right?
No, the creature's on the stack. So they cast the Phoenix, which is 6 mana. It cascades. It's still on the stack.
Let's say they cast a Creative Technique.
Okay.
Okay, and then they demonstrate it, and then the first copy.
Yeah. Okay, so they get.
They get a couple of creatures.
Potentially, yeah.
Not only like they get like several creatures even.
Yeah, fine. I'm playing 4th Sphere of Resistance then.
Okay, cool. There's another deck that like really got me excited, and that's Crusherbot Beat Cheese deck that Sean beat in the finals. And I didn't even know how to call this. I want to call this like Red Affinity Burn.
No, it's got the best deck name you've ever heard in your life. Coined by someone on Twitter. I'm sorry, I've forgotten your name, but someone called it 8 Blast.
8 Blast?
Like 8 class, 8 Blast.
Oh, and it's totally like not an 8 Blast. Like it's not the kind of 8 Blast you would expect.
No, it has 4 galvanic blast, 4 shrapnel blast. It's got 8 blasts.
So crazy.
8 blasts.
Like, I watched the finals on from inside the client, and when I saw Galvanic Blast, I was already excited, and like experimental synthesizer and stuff. But then in some game, Crusherbot actually played Shrapnel Blast, and I was like, what year is this? I think actually Shrapnel Blast is a card we should actually mention what it does, because some people might not know it. I think it's like a colorless and a red instant. As an additional cost, sacrifice an artifact and deals 5 damage to any target.
Yeah. What a baller card. It was so good in standard for the mirrors, and I remember that. When Phyrexian Dragon came out, I played some leagues with like 2 Shrapnel Blast, 4 Gal Blasts, with 4 Dragon Engines, and then like reanimates and unearths, all that stuff. And it was pretty sweet, actually. I won lots of games by just blasting people out, so seeing this is not that surprising. Do you want to go through the deck list though, because it's pretty new?
I think it's pretty straightforward. It plays basically 4 Chrome Mox, 4 Mox Opal, 4 Retrofitter Foundry, 1 Shadow Spear to Find of Saga, 3 Experimental Synthesizer. For those who don't know, that's an artifact, a red. When it enters the battlefield or leaves the battlefield, you exile the top card of your library, and until end of turn you may play it. And you can also sacrifice it for 2 colorless and a red, and then you get a 2/2 white samurai creature token with vigilance, and you can only do that as a sorcery. So I guess that's like another thing you can sacrifice to the Shrapnel Blast, or to the 4 copies of Breyer's Apprentice, which I feel like very much makes or breaks the deck. It's like basically the engine. You have 4 Ornithopters, which work very well with Retrofitter Foundry. You have 4 Fable of the Mirror Breakers, which is basically keeping the deck together. And then for lands, you have 4 Great Furnace, 4 Wasteland, which I was surprised about, 4 Mountain, 4 Urza Saga, and 4 Shatterguard Smashing, which is like the multi-mode double-faced card. I never knew what these abbreviations stand for. Like the thing where you can like take 3 damage or like play it as a tapped, and help me out, I never know. Like it's like the fireball thingy. So that's the main deck. Like it's pretty aggressive.
Very aggressive.
Yeah, you can like make like early assaults with like Ornithopter and Retrofitter Foundry. I can't believe I'm saying that, but I mean it's the Ninja engine, right? Ninjas also used to do that.
I was about to say I lose to the Ninjas a lot just from those starts. It's very powerful. Like
I want to say like I lose to that way more often than I lose to the actual like ninjas connecting and doing tricky things.
Me too. It's really frustrating. It's like, god damn it, they have the Ornithopter every time. You never think you can say that. Because I think I've seen 1 or 2 of these shells before, but like it didn't have Fable and it didn't have Chrome Mox as well. So, God, Chrome Mox doesn't have a lot of things to imprint. It
cannot imprint artifacts. So
no, it's got 20 cards you can imprint. I guess that's okay, but you don't get much choice from it.
What is Chrome Mox doing for us? I guess it gives us quicker Fables and Breyers. Is that all?
Yeah, and like bigger Sagas and stuff.
Also allows you to play Saga on the first turn, I guess.
Yeah. Someone also on Twitter like said Crusherbot is someone that's never afraid of Meltdown X = 1 ever, which is so true. So anyone knows that doesn't know Crusherbot, they have been playing like Hammer Time and Legacy for ages, and like at the beginning they would come like 15th, 20th in the challenge, and everyone was like, oh, that's pretty quaint. And then he started top 8ing, and then he started winning, and then he's just done incredibly well with Hammer and put Hammer on the map in Legacy. It's completely him. And now here he is with this deck, which I've seen shells like this before. It's definitely an iteration on it. The Chrome Mox is basically the new thing that I've seen, but and the Fable as I mentioned before. But he's just incredibly good with these kind of like artifact synergy things, and just incredibly good at dodging Meltdown, I think.
you gotta give him some credit, because I spotted 2 welding chars in the sideboard. Okay.
That's fair enough. Yeah. That's cool.
I guess honestly, I was wondering what they are doing, and I only just now realized. I guess they are there to protect like I was going to say a big construct, but actually then there's nothing else to make the construct big anymore. Yeah. So that's probably not it. I'm really curious what they do. I mean, technically they can protect like a Grafdigger's Cage, but that's surely not what we're doing here.
I think it's just like it's not for a very specific thing, but as people bring in more artifact removal, it's just going to be useful.
Yeah, like it kind of reminds me of like the good old days when people played like random spells guides in the sideboard, just because like people play like more removal.
Definitely.
Quick question: which creature type is Spells Guide?
Horror.
Yeah, you got it.
Yes! 2 out of 2.
Easy.
10 points for Gryffindor. Here we go. Cool. Yeah, that's another deck. I'm actually super excited to play something like this. I love like the idea of being aggressive early on, and then like as you run out of steam, you literally go like, okay, Galvanic Blast, Shrapnel Blast, GG.
Yeah.
You know how many people must have been blown out by like that?
I mean, look, if you're making a 4/4 turn 1 off your Ornithopter and your Foundry, and then like putting this pressure from like Saga, Fable, Brea's Apprentice and stuff, you're gonna chip damage them down, and then these blasts can absolutely finish them off. So it's like 4 Shrapnel Blast, full Gal Blast, as we said, and full Lightning Bolt as well. So there's a lot of reach.
Oh yeah, like people just might not respect the reach out of this deck, right? Like I can totally imagine how the Crusher Bot just got away, like quote unquote away with a lot of games just because like opponents like maybe use the Ancient Tomb so often, or I don't know, when like too deep with any like Street Wave, or like reanimate their Troll of Khazad-dûm shenanigans, right? And they already went down to like almost like 10 life or something like that, and then you like just like blast them twice, and that's the game.
Yeah, losing life is very popular in Legacy right now.
Yeah, totally. Like
I've seen so many games. Like I watched quite a few of Crusherbot's games, and a lot of games literally came down to just like randomly blowing the opponent out with Galvanic Blast. Yeah, I mean, it's a thing.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad.
So, if you guys had to play something in the next league, is it gonna be a Mind's Desire deck? Is it gonna be Mississippi River? Or is it gonna be, Callum, what do you call this? 8 Blast?
8 Blast, yeah.
Loving it.
It's such a good name. As I said, it's someone on Twitter. I need to shout them out, but yeah, I didn't come up with it myself, but it's an awesome name. I'm going to play Mind's Desire as soon as we finish.
Damn, that was my answer. Holy smokes.
Oh, okay.
Too
slow, bruh.
Dude, like, I just don't want to play that Shrapnel Blast deck. That's just, like, not my cup of tea.
It's like, okay, dude, Mind's Desire just entered the format. I want to cast Shrapnel Blast.
Well,
but
Kai,
yeah,
just so you know, we could play the same deck at the same time. It's
yeah, and
crazy
still be
idea.
friends, yeah.
No.
Is there
not
like
be friends,
any way where you can go, let's say, Quicken, Mind's Desire, but that doesn't really do all that much for you, does it? It's actually pretty horrible.
Why are you trying to break this card?
Well, in your opponent's turn, you go like they make Storm count, because then they cast their Mind's Desire. In response, you cast yours, then you can't cast any of your sorceries, and then you die.
Yeah. Yeah, Quicken, the one card, like when I was back in school and I wanted to like break stuff, it was always like, okay, first of all, we Quicken, like, no, Julian, please don't, not a Quicken story again. But
Yeah,
I loved it
always
so
Quicken.
much. I loved it so much in 2012-13, right? Or rather 13-14, when we were in, I want to say Ikoria or something. There was this Esper control deck, and it literally would do Quicken Supreme Verdict, because it also wanted to get rid of attacking Mutawalls.
Oh yeah, that was also during the time where they went Planar Cleansing, Quicken's Planar Cleansing as well. And there was the two versions of it. There was the Supreme Verdict one, and there was the Detention Sphere one that couldn't play Planar Cleansing.
Oh, it's like, what's wrong with you guys? Seriously, like, Quicken into Supreme. Man.
That was
I was playing in like
yeah.
I was playing like in one of the German, I want to say like, I played in German Nationals or something, or National Qualifier, I don't remember. And I lost to a guy playing that deck with like a propeller head. And like he was also like behaving like he was like not that experienced. And as it turned out, he actually won I think he either won or like went to the finals and represented Germany. And turns out he was like really good. And I was wondering whether he just was wearing that stupid cap with like the propeller on top to give the impression of somebody who has no idea what he was doing. To this day, I'm wondering about that, because I didn't give him a lot of credit. And I think that might have actually influenced the way I played the game. But that was, 11 years ago.
He got you.
Yeah, he might have very much got me. Guys, do we call it a day here? Do we go our Mind's Desire's ways now?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I'm gonna have a field day trying to come up with like a title for this episode.
Yeah, Happy Brewing.
Happy Desiring.
Oh, dude, that's the worst title I can imagine. Happy Brewing. But maybe it's good. Let us know. Like in the comments, like on Twitter, let us know on @EternalMTG whether you like the title that I picked or Happy Brewing, which Kai favors.
Oh my god. I'm gonna go for Preordained Cast.
Preordained Cast. Dude, maybe we should just like make a random
like
cast.
We barely talked about Modern and Preordained, but hey.
Well, now we're a modern podcast, right? So,
Oh yeah, I totally
always
forgot.
have been.
Yeah, always have been.
Cool. So, people, if you want to leave a review for us, you can do so on Apple Podcasts, you can do so on Spotify, and we are always excited to get new ones. We always share them, and everybody's super happy. You can also support us on Patreon, patreon.com/everydayeternal. Join the family, hit the Discord, and with that, I think we're going to call it a day. Big shout-outs to everybody supporting us, especially our Eternal Witness tier supporters, Alex Crow, Tim Everett, Testacular, Sebastian Holager, Guillaume, Sean Dewey, Francis Cooper, Cassandra Davis, Tom Tischka, Benedikt Gruber, and Severin Schwarzhuber. And our Grizzlebrand tier, what's the Apex Predator tier? We're going to find Bertie Butt, Scott Monroe, Tom Hepp, Kane, Ian Seifert, and Colonoscopy. See you again next time when Mind's Desire has completely annihilated the format, has been emergency banned along with creative technique,
and really stupid.
8 Blast is ruling the format.
Hell yeah. I can't wait for that.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See ya.